Ayo, what is up everyone? It is the Alpha J of the Alpha J Show, and let's talk about Billy and Mandy again. I haven't done a What I Reboot in the longest, but I do like to keep up and do these occasionally, even if besides the How I'd Write series, these are the hardest to write in terms of research and getting my point across. But let's just jump into it. For the art shout out of today, I have this beautiful art piece here. It's so good and it represents more about what Cartoon Network stands for than the actual 25th anniversary bumper that they came out with themselves. I've looked at this photo for like 5 minutes and I still find little tidbits to appreciate. The link for that particular tweet will be in the description below. Give it lots of love, lots of retweets, and tell them that I sent you. Also, these comments here, I haven't done a comment shout out thing in a long time, so let's bring that back. I know a lot of you have been leaving a lot of wonderful comments, so here you go. Well, this particular cartoon has had 13 three-part segments before it was even called Billy and Mandy, totaling to 39 segments back when it was just Grim and Evil, a series on Cartoon Network that aired for about 2 years on due to winning a viewer-voted poll in an event that was described, at least on Variety, as a 53-hour all-original programming block called the Big Pick Weekend. The series had 6 seasons, with the first having 18 three-part segments, totaling 54 segments, the second part having 8 two-part segments, totaling 16 segments, the third season having 13 episodes, with some of the episodes being composed of 3 segments, some 2 and some 1, being in total 25 segments, season 4 being at most 14 episodes, and 24 individual segments, season 5 going back to 13 episodes, 24 segments in total, and season 6 having 11 episodes, 21 segments in total. We have 2 miniseries and 1 random assortment of shorts, with the first being a mini-series called Billy's Birthday Stories, with 6 segments, the other being a 4-segment series called Irwin Hearts Mandy, and 9 more assortment of shorts, not to mention the 3 movies that the show had, and 1 crossover special. Knowing this, why would we want more? The question jumps from would I reboot Billy and Mandy to why would anyone want to reboot Billy and Mandy? Unlike Chowder in My Life as a Teenage Robot, shows that, spoiler alert, I would favor rebooting. Chowder was cut off before it was finished, and My Life as a Teenage Robot was soon cancelled 3 seasons and a TV movie in. Those shows, just by speculation and my own reasoning, within each of those 2 videos that you should check out, appear to have more to offer. Chowder, for example, never had a TV movie, and My Life as a Teenage Robot never had a crossover, so imagine the possibilities there. One may reboot a show purely for the reason of continuing a good idea later with better technology. In fact, look at Samurai Jack. Not a reboot, but the same concept nonetheless. With newer technology, it was able to look so much better. With Billy and Mandy, would simply remastering the series work better than making new episodes, possibly using concepts that we already saw? And also, look at shows like any reboot of the Looney Tunes, Scooby-Doo, Tom and Jerry. Sometimes these shows are critically panned for not being a good show. Although the previous 3 are timeless for the most part, what would you want from a new Tom and Jerry show that wasn't already done? What joke would you want from a new Looney Tunes show to tell that they haven't? What mystery element do you want from Scooby-Doo to use that they haven't? No, I'm not saying that these shows have literally done it all, but at the same time, they've covered an insane amount of ground, even without the reboots, that simply making another seems like you'd get less of an impact each and every time. Think about it this way, if every other month I made a video saying that I was going to quit, each and every one after the first loses its effect more and more after each one. The same logic applies here. If Billy and Mandy made so much, besides the initial nostalgia hype wave, what exactly would you want from the show? A real world example of this is actually Ben 10. The show has been going on give or take a year, non-stop approximately, and I feel as though the original charm is lost, and some may be able to tell you see this better than others. Another example of this is total drama. I personally couldn't answer what more I would want from the show. I feel as though they would have to add or remove elements that might mess with the original charm of the show. Even shows like Family Guy, The Simpsons, Fairly Odd Parents. All of these shows at some point exhausted their original well of creativity. However, I am not saying that a show cannot last for a long time. SpongeBob is an example of a show that lost its original charm, but during season 9 and forward, it developed a new charm that people enjoy. Now I realize all I'm saying is subjective, but the issue here is that executives look at the majority because they want to make the most money as possible. If Teen Titans Go, SpongeBob, Phineas and Ferb, all of these shows made very little money, they wouldn't have made it so far. So it is irrelevant to excuse the general consensus of a show as subjective, because if you frame it as, is this show going to make it past this season and go on, then your individual opinion at that point doesn't matter. The majority does. And I know it seems very rude to say that, but I am sure with every show canceled, there was probably someone who liked it and did not want it off air. This is why My Life as a Teenage Robot was canceled. If every show lived as long as there was a fan, then no show practically would ever be canceled. There's also the issue of dynamic. Some reboots take the dynamic of the main characters and preserve it, or make small changes that doesn't throw anything out of whack. Other shows, like the new Powerpuff Girls, take the characters and their dynamic and shift it wide, creating major changes in how each character may act or perceive others. A large part of why some shows, especially comedy shows, may suck now is specifically how they treat their butt monkey and how they act as a whole. Many people do not like Fanboy and Chum Chum, and those who have watched may or may not like how they treated Kyle. Some of the worst SpongeBob episodes deal with how they treat Squidward. Some of the worst Uncle Grandpa episodes deal with how they treat Mr. Gus. Shows like Planet Sheen, Breadwinners, Robot and Monster, Camp Lazlo, Fairly Odd Parents, Teen Titans Go, Johnny Test, all of these shows and much more. They all have characters who are served to get beaten up or torn down for comedic purposes. And it's not all bad. Some of these characters tread the butt monkey territory, and some are the straight man who just kind of get torn down sometimes. Going beyond the realm of animation, I think Mr. Mosby from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody is one of my favorite examples of this. Now, why do I bring this up? Well, if in modern animation, whether it's the writers making this wrong or the audience not reacting well to butt monkeys as much as they used to, do you think that the dynamic of Billy and Mandy, if shifted just a tiny bit, would ruin the show as a reboot? I mean, the show essentially had Mandy have total control, and sometimes torture Grim, and sometimes beat up Billy. Now, some people may say that this is a problem of the special snowflakes, and this is why cartoons are so clean nowadays, and to that I say, sure, maybe the shows of today are toned down because of insert reason here, but again, all of this goes back to the general opinion of the show. Now, I'm not saying that there is no possibilities of this working. Sure, a reboot of Billy and Mandy could be successful, but this series isn't would this reboot work, because the answer would always be maybe, because nothing is 100%. Now, you may also think, well, Jay, maybe you don't need to change the dynamic. If it isn't broke, don't fix it. And to that I say, okay. But then again, you're going to have the same characters, the same environment, the same dynamics, the same vibe. Also, given that Billy and Mandy may stick out in terms of the Cartoon Network lineup, regardless of whether they underplay it, overplay it, inplay it, outplay it, onplay it, offplay it, the show has to retain its core, because that is why the audience would even want to come back to see it. It doesn't matter if Billy and Mandy grow up, or the show changes from comedy to serious, or serious to comedy. The core needs to be there, and the audience needs to be able to identify it. I feel as though Billy and Mandy is in this gray area, but safe area, because it's rooted in being mean and brutally honest, which isn't a bad thing. Billy and Mandy's a great show. I believe that if Billy and Mandy, even if it was shifted in the wrong way, would make the show really, really hard to watch. Think about that. Just imagine the carelessness and recklessness of other reboots, not even just the obvious ones. What if Grimm's torture becomes too realistic, or hard to watch, or uncomfortable? All of these things really do matter. The dynamic, the core, the atmosphere, and it is for those two big reasons that I think my decision has been made. Would I reboot Billy and Mandy? No. If it was ever rebooted, I wouldn't mind. But on the long list of shows that I think should come back, Billy and Mandy is somewhere near the bottom. It has gone farther than many shows around it. The root of the show possibly worked for its time. Shifting it the wrong way because of how rude but honest and brutal the show can be can really shift the show into a wrong direction. Flanderization can happen. It has had a crossover with 3 movies as well and tons of episodes. You can watch one segment of Billy and Mandy every other day and you wouldn't be finished in a year. I think the idea is fleshed out. I'm not saying there aren't good sides, but the risks heavily outweigh the reward, and the reasons it should stay done are better in my opinion than the reasons to bring it back. But what do you think of Billy and Mandy as a show overall? Do you like the show, hate the show, never got into it? Let me know in the comments down below. And make sure to follow me at The Alpha J Show for your latest and greatest in whatever I'm doing at the moment. If you have, I'm very active on my public Discord as well, so that's another place to follow me. Do you have another episode that you think I should take a look at? Maybe there's an episode that you think I could rewrite better, a challenge, or maybe that latest episode of blah that all of the other reviewers are talking about. Well, all of those requests go into the request video. If you're scrolling down to this comment section of this video, you're in the wrong place. It is always in my description below, as well as the card above, which is the eye within a circle. It's in the corner of the video, whether you put your mouse on the video or tap the video. If you really like this video, I highly suggest watching my Billy and Mandy review from before, or my Cartoon Network playlist for more Cartoon Network reviews. Make sure to subscribe and feel free to consider my Patreon. As always, I hope your time is well spent, and Alpha out.